Hello dear friends, current affairs rule, and this is the hot topic of the moment. Opinion piece. Skinny cows. Everyone's talking about recession. Is a big downturn coming? No one dares to give a date. Musk, Gates and Zuckerberg confirm it. No one knows where the inflation ceiling is. Banks won't get a bailout like before. No consensus on the definition of recession. Wikipedia edit war on recession. The page underwent 50 edits in 24 hours. The meek will inherit the earth with a positive restart. Algeria unblocks banking operations with Spain. Spain's growth accelerates and consumption rises. Germany reopens nuclear power stations due to lack of Russian gas. What would happen in Mexico if the US goes into recession? Drought and fires threaten California's ancient redwoods. Let's start. Everyone is talking about recession, but no one dares to bail the cat. Three grand economic gurus have claimed that the world is approaching an economic recession. Elon Musk, Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg have all claimed in recent months that the economy is ripe for a recession. However, none of these experts have been able to put a date on the onset of this crisis, as the hurricane of unemployment that has been created in recent months could bring economic consequences. This economic slowdown could be one of the worst in recent history. According to Zuckerberg, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon has said the economy is very weak, but he doesn't see a recession imminent. The Morgan Stanley chairman believes central banks will prioritize the battle against inflation over any other cause. This is an economy that is weakening at a much faster pace than most people expected, says Chief Nerd. The US entered a technical recession in the second quarter of 2022 when its gross domestic product fell by 0.2%, having already contracted by 0.4% in the first 3 months of the year. A technical recession is the name given to the economic situation that occurs after 2 consecutive quarters of economic contraction. Definition. A recession is a decline in economic activity over a period of time. A recession is the action and effect of withdrawing or retreating or depression of economic activities that tends to be temporary in general. A recession is considered to exist when the rate of change in GDP is negative for 2 consecutive quarters. It was commonly known as the lean season. To drink of fat cows is a symbol of constant shelter, a sign of well-being and wealth. Milking them indicates that life will continue peacefully and serenely, surrounded by love and affection. To drink of skinny cows means just the opposite, and that is why the cow is sacred in India, because it symbolizes the same as the mother, that is, constant and peaceful shelter. After its last rate hike, the Fed signaled that the pace of increases could be slowed. However, a recession may still be necessary to control runaway inflation. The Fed raised interest rates by another 75 basis points at its July meeting, but indicated that the pace could be reduced from now on. Eurozone inflation also rose to another record high, underpinning the call for the European Central Bank to follow up its first interest rate hike since 2011. I repeat the phrase. Eurozone inflation also rose to another record high, underpinning the call for the European Central Bank to follow up its first interest rate hike since 2011 with another big increase. Consumer prices rose 8.9% in July from a year earlier, up from 8.6% last month, driven again by rising energy and food costs. Polemic. There has been an edit war on Wikipedia after Biden said the US is not in a recession. Wikipedia suspended the edit function for the term recession on Thursday, following an edit war between its users that saw the site undergo around 50 edits in the last 24 hours. In turn, the platform blocked unregistered users until next August in an effort to curb what it describes as vandalism and malicious edits. The reality is that we don't know where the inflation ceiling will be. There is a persistent inflation situation in all economies. We will see if the interest rate hikes by the ECB and the Fed have the effect of dampening those hikes. So, it is a complicated situation for central banks. Contradictions. The news is contradictory because Wall Street opened higher despite the technical recession of the economy. The New York Stock Exchange has rebounded after a black half year and recorded its best months in November 2020, with clear rises thanks to good corporate results and the expectation that inflation may be starting to come under control and that there will not be many more interest rate hikes. However, Treasury yields have fallen on fears of recession. As Amazon soars 9% and puts Wall Street on track for its best month in 2 years, Lionel Nation writes that, in quotes, there is an engineered and coordinated extraction of world economies and structures. The world is contradictory because reality is contradictory. Similarly, European stocks rose on Friday, posting their first monthly gain in 4 years as a string of strong corporate results overshadowed fears of a global recession, while solid economic data also lent support. Spain. Similarly, economic growth accelerated in Spain to 1.1% on the back of rising consumption. The Spanish economy accelerated its pace of growth between April and June, with an increase of 1.1%, which is 0.9 of a point higher than that recorded in the first quarter, and which was driven by the rebound in household consumption, despite inflation triggered by the impact of the war in Ukraine. In fact, the Spanish stock market has just risen this Friday by 0.88% thanks to the good performance of large stocks and Wall Street. And with this rise, it has now been in positive territory for 3 days and closes a week marked by corporate results with a gain of 1.3%. Algeria unblocks banking operations with Spain. Iberdrola and BP agreed to accelerate the deployment of refueling infrastructures and the production of green hydrogen. Citi raises Iberdrola's stock market potential to over 20%. Banco Santander improves its profit by 33% and maintains its target for the rest of the year. Bankinter has the potential to rise up to 75% in the IBEX 35. Galicia extinguishes 21,600 hectares of fires and maintains flames in another 6,720. Spain will propose to the European Union to limit the price of carbon emissions permits. Spain will propose to Brussels the reform of the electricity market and announces measures to save energy. A law in Spain will fight food waste. Spain, a country divided by politics, increasing polarization of Spanish political life. Americas. What happens in Mexico if the US goes into recession, with all eyes on a looming crisis, many Mexicans wonder whether a recession in the US will affect their economy. Mexico, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala promote astrotourism. US-Mexico energy dispute, an attack on López Obrador. The US criticizes Mexico for putting its sovereignty ahead of corporate profits. The soy dollar makes its debut in an Argentina in need of foreign currency. Argentina's markets open positive after the new economic minister. Argentinians seek refuge in durable goods in the face of a new economic crisis. Chile's unemployment rate remains at 7.8% in June. The campaign for the plebiscite on Chile's new constitution moves forward. The opposition accuses the government of pushing for a vote in favor of the draft prepared by the convention. Chile expects copper prices to rise as the risk of blockades diminishes. The Chilean Copper Commission lowers the bearish price of projection for 2022. The Venezuelan government reacts to the rallying against its gold reserves in the Bank of England. Peru's president reaches out to the opposition, who boo him out of Congress. Colombia announces that Chile has offered to host peace talks with the ELN. The Colombian Truth Commission presents new beginnings of exiles in Ecuador. Colombia's next foreign minister wants to show that total peace can be achieved. The Gulf Clan is reportedly planning an armed strike in several northern Colombian departments. Brazil's Petrobras and Ecopetrol find natural gas in an exploration well in Colombia. Petrobras will begin drilling off the mouth of the Amazon in November. Brazil's unemployment hit 7-year low, benefiting Bolsonaro. Santander sees Brazil's economy performing better than expected. Brazil's central bank to raise rates by 50 basis points at August 3 meeting. Coffee prices may fall due to a bumper crop in Brazil. Reset news. United Nations expresses concern about fires in Europe and North America. August darkness is closing in on the enemies of humankind, so get ready for shocking exposures and revelations. You will be angry, but you will be happy. This Saturday, the new dinar rate would be announced in the Iraqi Gazette, according to Bruce. Santa Surfing question: what will happen when real estate markets fall 30% worldwide? The banks will not get a bailout as before. The markets will have to crash using fiat dollars to unfold, and silver and gold. A former trader told the jury that funding the price of gold was common at Bear Stearns before the merger with JP Morgan. It was common for a large bank to manipulate the price of gold. As of now, the two largest suppliers of oil, Saudi Arabia and Russia, are backed by gold, which means that if any nation wants an economy, it will need to use a gold-backed currency for oil to run its economy at least to zero. Therefore, a global gold standard will be unavoidable, and no matter where it goes, gold is gold. The meek will inherit the earth at that time. Third world countries are only artificially poor because they have the most wealth. There are humanitarian trusts that have been hoarded for longer than we can imagine. Beth bonds backing them on straw man bonds, Lucy's Trust, Saint Germain Trust,
and Cestui Que Vie Trust, all accumulated and awaiting redistribution to the world population after the global financial restart takes place. USA. Biden orders to resume constructions of the border wall with Mexico and close 4 gaps. At least 16 dead in floods caused by heavy rains in the state of Kentucky. Soybeans are headed for their biggest weekly rise in 22 years due to weather in the US. Oil companies Exxon and Chevron make historic gains on higher prices. Harley-Davidson share rise after Q2 results. 2T results, I mean. US labor cost rise sharply in the second quarter. Drought and fires threaten California's ancient redwoods. Cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin returns to 23,000. Will there be a summer rally? Cardano continues to grow despite falling short of the dollar. Europe. Forest fires in France and Turkey. Italy is dying of thirst due to its worst drought in decades. Drought rains honeycombs in Hungary. Germany reopens its nuclear power plants due to lack of gas. Blackouts in Europe. Hanover, Germany, stops providing hot water to all public buildings and turns off lights in buildings along the streets, as 2 cities in France, Heathrow Airport, now limits passenger arrivals to 100,000 per day. Digital ration cards are here. Are you ready for the rest of the 2022? Excuse me. Finland stops giving tourist visas to Russians. German minister pays tribute to the victim of the Nazi occupation in Athens. The EC proposes to include Ukraine and Moldova in the Trans-European Transport Network. Swiss physicist studies greenhouse gases. In a series of pieces published in scientific journals, Thomas Almendinger has argued that this experimental research with thermal absorption of infrared radiation has shown that, in quotes, atmospheric trace gases such as carbon dioxide have no influence on climate, according to this research. Ukraine. The United Nations expects the first grain ships to leave Ukraine soon. Zelensky oversees the first shipment of wheat to be sent after the agreement. Zelensky says Ukraine is waiting for a signal to start shipping grain. Hungary's Prime Minister declares that it is the US that is financing the conflict in Ukraine. NATO has prepared a plan to dismember Russia into 17 states, according to War News. China began military exercises in the South China Sea amid tensions over Pelosi's possible visit to Taiwan. Let them prepare for war, in quotes, the Chinese military publishes. China Evergrande offers incentive for overseas debt restructuring. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.